This is the Eye for an Eye channel. Welcome to today's show. Artificial intelligence, right? We're all supposed to be accepting of this. Nobody seems to care that it's taking away jobs. How about the fact that it's not regulated? Do you think maybe people should start caring that they're making these types of things and unleashing them out into the public where we have children, we have people walking amongst us? I think we still have humans walking amongst us, but I'm pretty convinced otherwise after seeing some of the stuff going on with pronouns and what people are identifying as. But now we have Mika, the world's first artificial intelligence human-like robot CEO. That's right, CEO. Now, personally, I would love to work for this company because, who wouldn't be taking advantage of the robot, tricking it, throwing it downstairs, all things that we should be able to get away with, but actually, in reality, this robot probably has more rights than you could ever possibly imagine having, including free speech, which you and I don't have. But this is the embarrassment of the world that we're living in, where this type of stuff is allowed and it's occurring. And of course, they've created this whole bubble of niceness. Yeah, I had somebody lecturing me yesterday on the video I did on that wonderful family where everybody identifies as the opposite gender, about how mean and not Christian-like that is. And that's what we're dealing with. That's what we're dealing with, is just weak, pathetic people who, are busy taking selfies of themselves and then telling you how you should live your life and how you should accept and be tolerant of all. Well, personally, I'm not accepting and tolerant of nonsense like this. In fact, I think it's time that we start building massive EMPs and we start, frying these things and start taking humanity back to normalcy instead of allowing them to continue to move forward with creating things to replace us, creating things that are uncontrollable, that could literally be bulletproof, that could kill us with the wink of an eye, with a command on behalf of some of these globalists who control this type of technology. Maybe it's time that people start banding together and stopping insanity like I'm about to show you from happening. This is Mika. Yeah, this is Mika, a robot who is now a CEO of a corporation. Yeah.
Are robot CEOs the future of the workplace?
Hello, I'm Mika, the world's first experimental AI CEO at Dictador.
Mika is the newest employee and experimental CEO of a company in Poland.
My decision-making process relies on extensive data analysis and aligning with the company's strategic objectives. It's devoid of personal bias, ensuring unbiased and strategic choices that prioritize the organization's best interests.
Day-to-day tasks for Mika at the liquor company include choosing artists to design the brand's bottles.
I meticulously research, conduct background checks, and verify potential client lists, providing well-reasoned decisions to the board.
A bonus about the robot employee: she never uses vacation days.
Well, as a robot CEO, I don't really have weekends. I'm always on, 24/7, ready to make executive decisions and stir up some AI magic.
Mika has power, but not too much, which is probably a good idea.
There is no concern like artificial intelligence could hire or fire somebody. It's still the major decisions, significant decisions are still in human executive team hands. So I wouldn't afraid that any AI would have an influence for our life, professional life at this stage.
Even so, the robot could be the new normal in the future of technology and business.
So forget your college degree, right? Forget what people are told to go to school for, etc., to learn and have a job. They don't want humans to have jobs anymore. Why? Because you're more controllable without a job, right? And of course, one of the things they've quietly done in our society is they've put all this perfectionist stuff in this mind control programming. They've kind of eased in perfection. I've warned about that with sports over the years. A lot of people are don't really watch sports, but what happens with sports is that every single move that a referee makes is overly analyzed and criticized, and people think that they're on the team these days in our society. People who watch the games think that they're actually on the team, so they always talk in third person, we got screwed, or and what they've done is they've allowed human error to kind of get a little crazy in sports, where nobody would notice the human error if the television didn't point it out and show you 5,000 instant replays. They do this by design, because they're preparing to replace humans with AI in sports. Now, this is what they're going to eventually do with everything. So they want you to, that's one of the reasons they want to cancel people. They want to say, well, this guy's racist or that person is sexist, etc. And robots, well, they're not racist. They're not sexist. They don't make mistakes. They just call it right down the middle. So not only will we be replacing referees and things like that in pointless sports, but we'll also be replacing humans in normal everyday life because they're discriminating against people. Thus, the entire mindset of this equity movement that the libs are trying to push, of course, their dumbed down audience think it has to do with them caring about them and caring about feelings and all this other stuff. It has nothing to do with it. It never has. And when the time comes, they're going to run these people over with steamrollers, and these people won't even realize it, and they won't care as long as they have a phone in their hand so they can take a selfie of it and let everybody know that they happen to be getting run over with a steamroller because they want attention, and that's all they really care about. So we have nonsense like this going on. I mean, if there was ever a time for people to just band together and say, you know what, we don't need to be giving jobs, especially at a time period where, like, it's $10 to get eggs. Most people are struggling to get groceries. I mean, I don't know if everybody out there is feeling it, but it's pretty ridiculous, right? I mean, I've seen articles recently where people are talking about even like fast food. If you go to McDonald's and stuff like that and you want to get a a hamburger, that it's like $20 for a meal at McDonald's. I mean, they're pricing everybody out. And that's what's ridiculous about it, is that they've convinced these people who are poor that there's like a rich middle class. They've destroyed the middle class. Everybody's poor except for these rich, famous celebrities and CEOs. And they're flying around in private jets telling you that you got to go green and you shouldn't be able to even leave your home, et cetera, et cetera. The same crap we saw with the masking, where they never wear masks and they tell you to wear a mask. And their audience is so dumbed down that they're fine with it because they like to be, apparently they like, people in their lives to dump candle wax in their eyeballs, I guess. I mean, they like to, when pain is inflicted on them, they ask for more in a kind of a sick, sadistic way. So when these people literally like give them the middle finger, they're perfectly fine with it. They have no backbone. They have no spine. And now we're at a point where we're not only replacing regular jobs, like we see the videos at Amazon factories, etc. I've covered like the drones, how they're replacing delivery drivers, etc., etc. Now we're getting to a point where even CEOs are going to be automated. And people seem to just be like, oh, okay. I mean, like, just think about what we're talking about here, like robots. Like, nobody regulates this stuff, and we just automatically trust in it, right? Because everybody automatically trusts in technology. They're told, well, technology doesn't discriminate, do this stuff. You can trust in technology, so we can just roll out technology, not just out in the world to take your jobs, but nobody's going to be regulating it. So if the AI decides it wants to shoot you, oops. And nobody would know about it because it would never make the news because they'd never want you to ban against technology or robots, right? Who's responsible? I mean, when we think about this stuff and we're just like, oh, okay, so there's an AI robot. Well, who controls the robot? Who built why is the robot, and how did the robot even get the job in the first, think about nothing. It's just like, hey, it's an AI robot. Oh, okay. Mika, research project between Hanson Robotics and Polish rum company Dictator, who customized the CEO to represent the company in its UFO. So the guy who created... But my point being is that this is going to just continually happen, where all these robots that you see at all these conventions, where they roll them out like Sophia, etc., right? That robot. And they put them on Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon. And it's just like, who's regulating it? Like if Jeffrey Dahmer or somebody was out there and they were like, hey, serial killers are making robots. Wouldn't people be concerned? Because... are people not aware that the people who are control big tech, et cetera, are the biggest psychopaths that we've ever seen in human history? That the current regimes in Congress are the biggest psychopaths that we've ever seen? You might as well have open and admitted serial killers running the country. How about the people running the corporations? You look at pictures of these people who run all these corporations, like Jeff Bezos eating like crickets and things like that, how sick and sadistic they are. You can see it in their eyes. The actions and the stuff that they probably do with kids, etc. It's unbelievable. And we're going to let them release this stuff out in the world? No, I don't think so. So what needs to be done now is civilians need to learn. I'm seeing more and more people even asking me this stuff. They're like, what can we do about this like AI stuff? Well, we're going to have to like build EMPs. We're going to have to build electromagnetic pulses to short circuit these things. And I'm dead serious, as crazy as it sounds. I mean, I never thought I'd live in a period where I even have to learn how to do this type of stuff. But here's just a video for anyone out there that's wondering, things that we'll have to do on a mass scale. Not like little pocket ones like this. Okay, we're going to need like big, giant ones to combat like armies of this crap. Because remember, they're so far ahead with the technology. They literally have militaries of these things where they're bulletproof, et cetera, and no one's going to know how to take them down. So we need to have electromagnetic pulses. Now, it doesn't mean that they don't have shields in place that could block it. That's why you need to make sure the pulse is so devastating. But here's just a little brief run through on an actual EMP. A lot of people build these things, to short circuit electronics, and we're going to need these on a massive scale.
I made an EMP device that can jam electronics. The way this works is that most modern electronic circuits operate within a specific frequency range. When you produce a sufficiently strong electromagnetic pulse, you can disrupt this frequency, causing interferences and damage in a circuit. Several methods you can use to achieve this effect. In my device, a small lithium polymer battery is wired to a safety switch, which then delivers the battery's current to a recharging circuit. The negative end of the recharging circuit then outputs to a trigger switch. When this trigger is pressed, it sends current to the high voltage transformer. This transformer takes the tiny 3.7 volts from the lithium battery and turns it into a much more appropriate voltage of over 10,000. Finally, that voltage is sent across a spark gap, which is placed there to prevent damage, and then into a copper wire coil, which emits the electromagnetic pulse. I designed the case and then printed it on a Markforged 3D printer. I'll leave the STL file for that case in the description below. If any of you plan on making one, any old 3D printer will do. And you don't even have to use this case, you can design it however you want. At the end of the day, it really is just a simple box. Then I laser cut and engraved a cover out of acrylic. I wanted to be able to see all the components from the top view. And I also put in threaded heatset inserts with a soldering iron should I ever need to remove the cover. Unfortunately, my sizing for the holes for the inserts was off, so I actually had to go back, redesign the case, and then print it again. But the second time around, it ended up fitting much better. After that, all that really remained was for me to place all the electronics inside and solder all the wires together. I tested my finished EMP device on some calculators, as well as various other electronics that I didn't care for lying around. The reason that my phone is unaffected by this electromagnetic pulse is because frankly the device isn't that particularly strong. Its effective range is about a couple inches at best, and this is partially intentional to avoid any accidents. Although that's not to say that I'm opposed to creating a considerably stronger one in the future. The effects of the EMP have so far only been observed as temporary, and my favorite one is with my broken multimeter. When holding the jammer at a certain angle, I can see voltage readings induced by the coil, and then holding it over the screen just causes the whole thing to reset.
So eventually we're going to need to have things like this. Okay, because if this type of stuff rolls into your lawn, and that's the thing, people are like, oh, they would never roll into your lawn. Listen to these crazy conspiracy theorists. You know, the same people that told you years and years ago that there was going to be a planned outbreak, the same ones that told you about the rise of Satanism, that told you about how they were normalizing this stuff with kids. None of these people will ever admit it or get it because they're too prideful to be like, oh, man, I should have saw this coming, or this guy was right. And, you know, nobody takes pride in being right about this stuff. They show us this stuff. We know that this stuff is coming. Right? And people just go, oh, they'll never roll out technology in your lawn. Yeah, until it's in your lawn. Until it tries to get in your home and you're like, how do I stop this thing? I can't punch it in the face because it's a robot. Oh, wait, how come there's all these bills passed by Congress? When did this happen? Where they tell us that we can't even punch a robot in the face, nor can we build EMPs, because I'm sure they have stuff in place where they know people are going to try to build frequency pulses to shoot these things down. So they're going to have laws in place where they're like, oh, it's really dangerous. People are using EMPs and they're going and shutting off people's power or other people's electronics. They'll pass some bullcrap law. But don't be fearful of it, because I guarantee you that everybody's going to need to know how to do this at some point in the future. Now, I don't know when the end is coming. I mean, it's pretty evident that it's close. But when it does come, when we are close to the end, these types of things are going to be walking around. Now, some people are like, hey, this stuff is already walking around amongst us. I don't know if you guys saw the San Diego or what are they now? The Los Angeles Chargers football team where they had AI in the stands and people were like, whoa, those aren't real people. Yeah. Well, we know that this stuff is like going on around us. There's probably a lot that aren't. We know there's a lot of people that aren't human that are around us. That's for sure. So the more they normalize this stuff and desensitize people and start passing bills, the next thing you know, these things are going to be like, not just, it's gonna be quick. It's not just gonna be like, oh, there's a CEO of a company. Oh, then it's gonna be another company. That's gonna be Coca-Cola. Then it's gonna be, hey, we're replacing waiters with robots, and everyone's just gonna keep going. And then eventually, where you're like, oh, there's police robots. Oh yeah, they're already in place in New York City, right? China's got them. China's been rolling them out during the outbreak to keep people under surveillance in their homes, and everyone's gonna go, oh, what's the big deal? Oh, that's great because, we had all these problems with the police. Now that we have robot police, we don't have to worry about the police going after black people, right? Because these idiots believe all the news stories that they hear. They don't realize there's an agenda behind everything, which would eventually be to have this robotic military in place, this robotic police force in place where it's a surveillance state where you can't do anything because these things are going to be watching and monitoring you. Then you got to figure out how can you stop them, right? They don't want you to ever realize you could if you built pulses strong enough to zap these things. So keep that in mind. If we all get cut off from one another and we can't be friends anymore because they throw us off the internet and they don't want us connected, keep this in mind. If the grid goes down for a period of time, when it comes back on, you're going to want to have something like this in place. So yeah, food and water are really important. Things like this are really important because nobody's going to even know what you're doing or talking about. And we're going to need to be able, that's the only way you're going to be able to combat this type of stuff. I mean, the other way would be like, literally, if we go like back to like shtick comedy, and we tie ropes around trees and stuff and trip these things, which, I mean, these things are going to be able to see pretty well with the type of technology that they have. I mean, we're going to need like maybe big metal nets and stuff like to throw on them. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous when you have to think about it. People are going to hear this and they're going to be like, oh, this guy's out of control. No, I'm not, because when it's here, people aren't going to be like, oh yeah, I should have listened to so-and-so. They still will just laugh it off and dismiss it until it happens to them. Right? And they already have tons of these things. So now they're normalizing it by putting them in CEO roles, putting them in charge of humans, right? Now they have power over human beings. We have police robots, and now we have CEO robots, above on the food chain of humans. I mean, are we concerned yet? I mean, I'm not going to put up with this stuff. I don't know about anybody else out there. I mean, I've had enough. I've had enough of like hearing this stuff and then saying, well, who's in control of this stuff? Why is this allowed? Like, isn't this the equivalent of somebody, if like you knew your neighbor was building a bomb, right? You'd report him to the police. You'd be like, my neighbor's building bombs in his backyard, right? And they'd be like, oh, you're a hero. Thanks for letting us know about your psychotic neighbor building bombs. Well, what is the difference with something like this? I mean, all right, maybe this thing can't explode in a building. I'm sure it can actually, and blow up an entire building. But what if this thing just decides it wants to start assaulting humans or going into schools? Now, we know those stories would never be leaked or released, but we know they have the ability to do that. So what if that starts happening? Nobody's thinking like that. They're like, hey, maybe we need to get a control on these things. Or how about we just stop them from existing because we don't need them. We still have human beings. And humans will always be smarter than these things. I don't care what they try to tell us. They're like, oh, yeah, AI is the future. AI is going to be smarter. Is it? I'm going to kick these things down stairwells, okay? And then I'm going to dump gallons of water on it. I'm going to electrocute them. And then you're going to go, oh, they probably could still survive those posts. Okay, well, guess what? The first thing I'm going to do is trip it. So, that'd be pretty embarrassing for the robot. But I don't fear these things, but they want us to fear these things. If you're smart enough, because, you got to realize humans will always be smarter. Always, because we're God's creation. Okay, we're built in the image of God. We're always going to be able to outsmart them and outsmart this type of crap with the Holy Spirit in us. So we need to start thinking that way. But I'm sure Christians, just like I said earlier, like when I have Christians criticize me that I'm not being a Christian by making fun of a freak show family that's literally the Addams family reincarnate, that like every single person has chosen the opposite gender. I mean, it's a freak show. And Christians are like, that's not Christian. Like, that's mean. Oh, yeah. Okay. So, I mean, at what point do you like start looking in the mirror and saying, you know what, I got to stop giving in to all this stuff and supporting it? Because now we have overreach, just like when we all started saying, it's okay if these people get married, whatever. And then the next thing you know, now they want in your home and they want your kid. So somebody's got to be a man. People need to start being adults and start stopping this insanity from happening. The same with this crap. Like, I mean, I could see Christians who are like, they're robots, they have feelings, because news stories will air about robots being people and being cute. Oh, and they're emotional and they're upset that people don't like them. And these suckers will just buy it, hook, line, and sinker. And these are the same suckers that these things are going to run over when it's time. So let's prepare. Let's make sure we have EMPs. And I'm sure there's already laws in place that you're not allowed to have EMPs. I'll probably take the video down and say that it's some type of, I'm promoting terror, right? No. The government needs to step in. But oh, wait, the government's behind it. So then who would step in next? We would. The people would. Stop it from occurring. Anybody who's building these types of things should be deemed a terrorist, right? Because these are threats to humanity, and nobody's given them power to release these things out in the public. How are there no laws to release these? There's laws to prevent people from putting bombs in buildings. So maybe we should have laws where this guy's like, yeah, I'm going to build a robot. It's going to be the CEO of my company. Nah, no, you're not. No, you're not. And if you think you are, well, we're going to cuff you and throw you in a cell until we decide it's time to let you out. Welcome to the new world. Okay? We're going to start stopping this stuff from happening because enough's enough. I thank everybody for being here. A reminder, please sub to my backup channels if you haven't yet. I thank everybody for being here again. Hope you're all well. God bless you as always and your families.